Americans have a spending problem. Well, technically, America has a money problem. Depressions, recessions, stock market and economic crashes, overconsumption, increased debt, bankruptcies, and poverty are all well known realities to the American citizen. Our high cost of living, education, the cost of goods and services, and even healthcare can affect the way that our economy works. Recently, people have been concerned about the student debt loans and its effect on the US economy and the students themselves. Whether the government should forgive all student loan debt is a highly debated and complex issue, including in a lot of different countries, but mainly the United States. This topic involves various economic, social, and ethical considerations, and opinions change varying on whether you have the money to pay for student loans, whether you don't, your political stance, etc. Here today, I will present arguments in opposition to forgiving student loan debt, and my group will additionally support our main claim forgiving student loans is a bad idea. Not only is the country faced with a major debt crisis, but so are the American people. As a country, we are the overconsumption capital of the world. We're spending more on things that we do not have. And we use it only for a certain amount of time. For example, buying clothes that cost a lot of money that are only good for a certain amount of time because they're only trendy for that amount of time. It's overconsumption issue. And it's a continuous cycle of purchases that eventually leads to debt and poverty. But how do Americans find themselves in this situation? Found in a CNBC article, nearly 40% of consumers cannot put any money at all into savings, according to a recent analysis of household financial health and readiness by the American Consumer Credit Counseling. So essentially, people have no money to put in savings, and we're overspending what we have as a society, and that's causing us to go into debt. So, um, debt, I call them debt traps, like credit cards or buy now, pay later programs might get you into financial problems. Credit card debt is one of the most expensive bad money habits, and it can be very difficult for you to stop if you routinely live above your needs. These bad financial habits are too common for the American people, and if not handled correctly, it isn't. It's considered an easy way out. Another example of an easy way out, like a credit card, would be loan forgiveness or free money from the government, and that can negatively reinforce bad habits. Um, but as the presidential debates roll back in season, the media is overflowed with controversial topics like abortion, healthcare, and even student loan forgiveness. It's true. Student loan debt is an issue in America. We are not saying that college is not expensive, and that every path is expensive, whatever, secondary education that you take. But why should American taxpayers pay for all of the students, and how will this affect the public and the private sector, the government and the people? Uh, the Federal Reserve reported that roughly 43.5 million Americans have student loan debt, which totals over $1.7 trillion. And that's a large amount of money. We're not denying that. And the expense of college can be a burden and it can be overbearing. But relieving students of all their responsibilities and choices will actually cause them to lose more money and become more debt in future because of the bad habits that we're reinforcing into them. And you know, when you talk about student loan debt, we always think about the positive, like, oh, how could this help, the government? How can this help the students? We never think about, like, how can this negatively affect students in the long run, not just the economy overall, but students themselves. There's something referred to as moral hazard. Moral hazard. What is it? How can it affect the overall condition of student life? And not necessarily how is it affecting the government, but how is it affecting the students directly? Jones, a doctor and a professor in economics at Carl H. Linder College of Business says that another concern of forgiving student debt is moral hazard. It's the idea that students might make riskier choices if they think that their debt will end up being forgiven. So let's say you take as many classes as you want and you take as many loans out as you can and you fail classes over and over and over again and you say, oh, it's okay, no worries, because I'm going to get my school paid for. That's a moral hazard, and that's causing issues for students and their choices and how that might affect their future lives. Student loans can be irresponsibly given and exploitive, and this can create bad habits for students and negatively affect their lives and the American economy. Look, in conclusion, forgiving all student loan debt could create a moral hazard by encouraging future students to borrow recklessly, knowing that their debts might be forgiven. This could lead to a cycle of increasing student debt and other debts outside of student loans. Through college, though college can be really expensive, it might cause financial stress to individuals, and the stress and the effect to not make proper decisions with money actually has a bigger issue, that those bad habits have a more negative effect on people's lives. While student loan debt can create moral hazard, it is simultaneously unfair to others that do not have to face student loan debt. My group member Dejan will now cover this important point regarding student loan forgiveness.